Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. And Manchester United have come off the back of a draw against Nottingham Forest. And instead of talking about what we discovered, what we learned, or what our takeaways were from the game, I will obviously mention those. I thought a bigger, more prevalent question, to be fair, and this has kind of been permeating throughout the fan base throughout the season. It's become even a little bit more vocal now because it's interesting, isn't it? When your team's playing poorly and losing all the time, there's so many issues to kind of dissect. You can be almost like scattergun-like talking about them all. But when you actually start winning games and more things become almost lesser of a problem than they were, you can almost isolate bigger problems more, if that makes sense. And I feel like a problem area for Manchester United, and this could encapsulate a lot of things because it's just the way football is at the moment with the framework and just general team sports anyway. You're only as strong as your weakest link, a very old adage. And it's the left wing back area has become a bit of a problem one. And this is actually quite an interesting one because Dorgu's not had a great season so far. I think his performances lately haven't been good. He definitely has quite a lot of limitations. I still think there's a player there. Definitely. I just thought the way he's almost being platformed in a way where he has to be almost like a pseudo left winger doesn't suit his skill set, his technical limitations, and his final ball. More so than him probably being a traditional fullback where he can kind of lean on his dueling capacity and defending, which I think has took a bit of a backward step over the past month and a half. I actually thought his cameo from what I've seen against Nottingham Forest was actually fairly decent. Because this is a bit of a different week because I was actually playing for Stretford Paddock. We lost 5-0. I didn't get to see the first 60 minutes of the match. I only caught the last half an hour. And at that point, it's a difficult game to kind of analyse because I think last 30, 25 minutes of Premier League matches become less so about tactics and them sort of things where you can kind of dissect, and it becomes more about the game becomes stretched, the substitutions. It's almost a bit chaotic, so you can't analyse the game properly, so to speak. I've seen clips of chances we conceded, chances we created. I've got more of a bigger picture, but I just wanted to talk about the left wing back area because this is something I've been discussing with people online for the last couple of weeks because it's become such a big problem. People are talking about possible replacements and possible solutions because you had Dorgu, who's not played well, might not be ready yet, and isn't really optimised playing that role. And you've got Diogo Dalot, who's been quite horrible this season. And I'm a big Dalot guy. I get criticised for that, but I think there's things that he does bring to the team and the things that he has brought to the team in the past that do go under the radar. But this season he's definitely been poor and a net negative. So that's a massive hole on one side of the pitch for Manchester United in a system and way of playing where the wing-backs are so pivotal and important. And that is a bit of a almost like nullifier for Manchester United to deal with. So one of the solutions people have come up with is the Bournemouth left winger, Antoine Semenyo, who's had an outstanding season, pre-peak age, approaching his prime years, which is the exact basically method of transfer strategy that we took with the signing of Mbeumo and Cunha. And he's been someone that United have been clamouring for to play the left wing-back role. And I've kind of pushed back on it. I've said, if you're Antoine Semenyo, who's an Arsenal fan as well, who have a left winger hole still, so that'll be a problem. Especially when their project is starting to look like it's about to take off. I believe would he be up for his first big career move, his first big step up, would it to be played as a left wing back? He's one of the better defensive wingers, so to speak, in the league if you look at his metrics, and people are showing me his heat maps saying he operates in the same areas. I think it's a very reductive way of analysing the game because I think there's so many roles and responsibilities you have as a left wing back that is different from a left winger that's been asked to defend. It's not the same thing, and people have been conflating the two. Because if you're a left winger asking to defend, are you asked to defend your back post defensively? Are you asked to hold the line as part of a back five? in terms of concentration and focus and having that type of defensive marking, tracking runners? Are you asked to defend against opposition wingers 1v1 as a left winger, asking to defend? And are you asked to aid build-up in terms of, are you technically secure in the first phase, which is in the first third of the pitch? Those are the questions that need to be asked. So before you pigeonhole players and you're asking, thinking, Dorgu and Dalot are getting into areas in the final third where they're having to 1v1 the opposition fullback and they're having to cross their final ball and they're not very good at that. That is true. That is why that position actually needs a hybrid player. It needs a player that's really good going forward and has that ability, but they also need to be almost like semi-defence first and have that ability and have almost a little bit of a fullback background to themselves as well. Especially if you're going to play Amad Diallo on the other side. I think the premise that United are going to be able to next season play Semenyo left wing back and Amad right wing back as two natural forward players and wingers as fullbacks of a back with a back three behind him in this Premier League today is suicide. United haven't been very good defensively this season. I think only 5 teams have conceded more goals than us this season in the Premier League. You are asking, this is what a lot of problems lie, because for the left wing back position, I feel like you almost need them to be like hybrid superheroes almost, in terms of have 1v1 attacking ability, great final ball, great technical security, but they also need to be monsters defensively as well when they're asked to defend. It does require quite a specialist player, because as good as Amad has been in that position, it's not optimal, because there will be games like the Forest one where he gets picked on. And it's about whether teams are going to start targeting that. And then if you've got wingers playing wing back and they're getting caught upfield too often and they're being too adventurous, you then end up isolating on transitions your wide centre-halves, having to defend in channels against wingers as well. And then you leave them susceptible to positions and scenarios that they're not suited. We saw what happened to Lenny Euro against Salamina in Southampton. That can always happen. So I'm going to start thinking of a shortlist. I know my guys online will help me, guys on Twitter will help me. I'll try and seek out advice. But I will not lie, in terms of the balance of the team, it has become a massive problem. Because if you have Amad on the right wing back area, you feel like the left wing back area, which does seem to get a lot of ball in the final third as well, it needs improvement, because it feels like that's where a lot of our attacks go to die. And especially when you've got Cunha on that side, that does play a little bit different to Mbeumo. And this is why so much about relationships in football as well, because Cunha does seem to float about a lot more than Mbeumo. And he drops a lot deeper as well to receive the ball. So when he drops so deep, he needs runners in behind him. That's why he excelled so much with Ait Nouri as left wing back, who's a very attack-minded fullback. You could say he's very much a wing back profile, but defensively he's a little bit sus. You've also got the aspect of playing for Wolves is different from playing for Manchester United, where Wolves probably he won't find himself in attacking scenarios too often in the game anyway, so you can almost pick your moments. If the end game of United in this Amorim system is that we're kind of dominating teams, the attacking output earnest on the wing back becomes even heightened, even more. So I guess that's where people believe United could survive or end up succeeding, having 2 wingers who are good, really good, who are naturally offensive, playing a wing back role when you've got teams penned in. There might be some scenarios at the end of the games and some matches where United could be brave enough to do that, but it is very, very adventurous, because essentially what you're left with is you've got a starting 11 where you've only got 3 natural defenders in the team. And then where does that leave your defensive set pieces, which should become a massive aspect of Premier League football now? And what happens when there'll be a phase in the game where you're having asked to defend and you're only defending with 3 defenders, which is the 3 centre-halves? It's very, very, it doesn't sound optimal to me. I think if you've got one attacking wing back on one side like Amad, the other one needs to still have a little bit of a fullback background to him, just for balance. But as you said, it's hard to find different answers. And the fact that we're sitting here discussing it so much, kind of being like, it needs to be great going forward, but they need to still be able to defend. It's why formations like these aren't so common, because you need such specialists in the transfer market to make it work. So that's where the concerns often lie. But I've been kind of like, which is interesting because Dorgu came here from Lecce. He's played right as a winger, ride right. Can't get my words out for them. He's played in forward positions, but it seems like in the Premier League, with his technical security and his kind of rashness and erraticness in the final third, it shows just the difference in level between the Premier League and the Serie A. You even see Dorgu playing international football, he looks immense. Game slowed down a little bit, his physicality becomes more of a factor. Stuff that does get cancelled out in the league. So, I don't know, because even Mazraoui, he looked a bit dodgy on the weekend, but you look at him and you think, him as a wing-back doesn't suit him either. He's definitely a lot more defensive-minded. He's great, technically great in the first phase, but then still, is he going to be beating the opposition winger 1v1? Is he got a dead-eye crossing delivery to kind of maximise Sesko in the middle? I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked and a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I do think the left wing-back area is a big issue, especially when January is coming up, where we're going to have 3 or 4 games without our whole right side. When we've got Mbumo that will end up in African Cup of Nations and AFCON, and you will have Amad Diallo doing the same. That is an area and that's a time period that I'm really concerned about. But we need answers. You need to start recommending me some wing backs, man, because the midfielders are obviously a problem as well. But I think in terms of, because this is the issue, if Dalot and Dorgu were defending really well on that side as well, you can kind of suppress that need a little bit. But they haven't been exactly watertight defensively themselves, whilst being almost like a non-factor going forward. Especially when Cunha, when he plays on that left cam role, he drops a lot deeper than Mbumo. He kind of floats a little bit centrally a lot more, where United almost need that width holder and that outlet on that left side, and that's where Dorgu and like Dalot have kind of been hung out to dry when they receive the ball and have got a full-back in front of them in the Premier League and think, what do I do now? And even if they do an overlap where it's time for him to cross the ball, they're quite subpar when it comes to that as well. But that is definitely something that I've noticed. That is something that a lot of people have spoke about. But I think people need to kind of have a little bit of a think when they're talking about the likes of Semenyo, etc., to play left wing back, because personally I don't see it. I watched him against City on the weekend as a left winger. He's an attacker through and through. Attacker, outlet, pace, power. You want him in forward areas, closest to the goal as possible at all times. Him coming to Manchester United to play left wing back wouldn't get the best out of him at all. Would hamper him, and then what would happen is he wouldn't perform the same way he performed at Bournemouth. Then people would start moaning and getting onto him for that. And then when he's asked to defend in his own box or in his defensive third, things can get a little bit shoddy. So for me, I don't think Semenyo left wing back is the answer. I think if he came here, he'd be a forward, be one part of the front three. Who knows? He might even play left, and you've got Cunha that might even go up top if Sesko can't start every game because he's still a work in progress. But I think he'll end up at Arsenal anyway. As an Arsenal fan, their title, Champions League perennial challengers, and they have a left wing spot that is open because Eze is a 10. He's not a left winger, and they've got Martinelli ahead of him. But I just don't believe that getting a winger to play that role will be optimal. And it'd be something that would only have to be done every now and again. And even then, it carries a huge element of risk. And I still think I'd like the winger or the wing back, that side, to be left-footed. Especially because Amad on the other side is very left-footed himself. Everything's got to be asymmetrical. There's got balance has got to be there. The relationship's got to be there. And I think that has been a bit of a black hole for Manchester United this season, that left wing back area. But I think you've got to let me know what you think. Normally I'd discuss the whole match, but I don't think I saw enough of it. I do think United need to improve defensively. There's attacking things that we need to improve as well. I think when the game state changes from things being in transition, the pressure is on us to break teams down. I don't think we create enough open clear-cut chances. So let me know if you think I'm wrong. Let me know if you agree. What do you want to do about the left wing back area? Who would you like us to sign? Is there anyone I don't know about? But I think United need to actually look at it in January, to be honest. Or they need to start their scouting now. Vivel, what have you got for me? That's me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. I will see you next time. Bow.